What if I told you that depression is not a moral failure? What if anxiety is not proof that your faith is weak? And what if struggling emotionally does not make you spiritually defective? Somewhere in Christian culture, mental illness quietly became associated with sin. Today, we are going to examine that carefully, biblically, and psychologically. Before we answer the question, we need clarity. So, what exactly is sin? Sin is a moral or spiritual rebellion against God. Mental illness, however, is a clinical condition involving patterns of emotional, cognitive, behavioral, and physiological symptoms that causes significant distress or impairment. Those are two different categories. One is moral, one is medical and psychological. Confusing categories create shame. Let's look at Elijah. In 1 Kings chapter 19, after a major spiritual victory, Elijah becomes afraid, flees, isolates himself, and says, "It is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life." That is suicidal ideation. Did God rebuke him for sin? No. God lets him sleep, feeds him, allows him to rest, speaks gently. The intervention was physiological and relational before it was spiritual instruction. That is profoundly trauma-informed. Psalm 42 says, "Why are you cast down, O my soul?" The psalmist speaks to his own depression. He does not say, "I am wicked." He says, "I am downcast." There is emotional distress without moral condemnation. Matthew 9 verse 12, Jesus says, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick." Jesus legitimized medical care. If physical illness is not a sin, why would neurological or physiological illness automatically be? Let's simplify depression. Depression is not simply sadness. Clinically, it involves symptoms like persistent low mood, loss of interest or pleasure, sleep disturbance, appetite changes, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, feelings of worthlessness, and sometimes thoughts of death. Depression involves changes in neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, stress hormone regulation, brain regions like the prefrontal cortex and amygdala. That is biology, not rebellion. When the brain's energy and motivation systems are dysregulated, it becomes harder to feel hope, even if you intellectually believe in it. There is a difference between conviction, "I did something wrong," and shame, "I am wrong." And depression is neither of those. Sometimes unconfessed sin can affect mood, but mood disorders are not automatically caused by sin. If every depressed person simply needed to repent more, Elijah would have been rebuked. He wasn't. Faith does not deny biology. Christian theology affirms embodiment. We are not souls floating in space. We are embodied beings. That means spiritual life and nervous system functioning are interconnected. You can love God deeply and still experience neurochemical imbalance, trauma responses, and chronic stress activation. The presence of symptoms does not mean the absence of faith. One evidence-based treatment for depression is called behavioral activation. Here is the simple principle. Depression reduces activity. Reduced activity increases depression. So we gently interrupt the cycle. So how do you do this? Step 1. Choose one small activity, not a change my life type of activity. Just something small, like taking a 5-minute walk, sitting in sunlight, calling one safe person, or making your bed. Step 2. Do it even if you don't feel motivated. Action can precede emotion. Elijah was fed and rested before he was restored. Sometimes, physiology must stabilize before spirituality feels alive again. I want to ask you gently, have you ever felt shamed or felt ashamed for struggling emotionally as a Christian? What were you taught about mental illness growing up? You can share in the comments. Please remember that mental illness is not automatically sin. Trauma is not a spiritual weakness. Needing therapy is not spiritual failure. You can have faith and still need help. Thank you for being a part of Whole, Faith, Mind, and Healing. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who may need it. If you're struggling, you do not have to struggle alone. Healing is possible. Help is available. You can request free counseling through Olutunu Safe Haven at www.olutunusafehaven.com. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and support is closer than you think. See you in the next episode.